Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the award-winning Great Indoors is proud to come to the fabulous Las Vegas Convention Center, MWC 2022. Baby, let's make it amazing.
Thank you, Frank. Yes, of course, this is Season 5 of TGI, and here in fabulous Las Vegas as the GSMA's official podcast. I am joined by a cornucopia of guests from across the industry, and of course, my producer and co-pilot, Larissa Yee. Now, this is the 5th episode of some of the incredible conversations that we captured at North America's biggest telecoms and technology show. And in this episode, I sit down with the GSMA Limited's CEO, John Hoffman, and the GSMA's CMO, Lara Dewar. Now, we had John as a guest a year ago in Los Angeles when we were very much still in the COVID pandemic. So being able to connect with him and Lara in a post-COVID world and talk about how the GSMA has evolved and adapted was simply fascinating. I also sit down with Adam Schink from BT. Now, Adam heads up Startup Scouting Investment and Innovation at BT Americas, and we talk about some of the interesting startups he's seen, that he's been scouting for, and he's been speaking to. It's great stuff. So buckle up and let's get started. This is the penultimate episode of The Great Indoors today on day one of MWC 2022 here in fabulous Las Vegas. And I'm really proud to be joined by the GSMA's CEO, John Hoffman, who's a former guest on the show before, and Lara Dewar, the Chief Marketing Officer from the GSMA as well. So I'd like to welcome you both to The Great Indoors.
Delighted to be here. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you, Matthew.
Yeah.
Great to be back.
Great, really great to be back. And I remember that was our mantra last year.
It was.
And so far, what are your thoughts on Las Vegas as the host city? Because the last conversation we had, John, you alluded to this is where it would be coming.
Right.
I remember we instantly started getting excited about the prospect of coming to Las Vegas. So it's day one. How do you feel about Vegas so far?
Yeah, we're thrilled. This new facility, and I just met Mayor Goodman. She just joined us. She's going to give a keynote in a few minutes. And she said, I want you to come back. I want you to be bigger than CES. And I promised her that we would. I said, I travel around the world and I do this, kind of for a living. And this is the most magnificent exhibition center
It's incredible.
that I've seen in the world. And we just had a board meeting on Monday, and I said the same thing.
Yeah.
So this coupled with Resorts World, which is, block and a half away, just a phenomenal opportunity for us to come in here, and we're really, really excited. Great first day.
Oh, brilliant. And yourself, Lara, what do you think?
The same. So this is the first time I've been to our North American edition of MWC.
Okay. Yeah.
So what a great one to get to be part of, to John's point, the facility, the city. And there still remains this kind of gratitude to be together, even though we're a few months almost post-pandemic. It feels so good to be together, and people are really happy to be here. I don't know if it's the sunshine or something about Las Vegas, but there's a really good energy here.
Yeah. And I think as well, there's what we're seeing, the pandemic is in the rear mirror. People are kind of gradually coming back to things. They haven't gone straight back into it. And I think Las Vegas is something that incentivizes people to come out to it. It's got that kind of draw as a city, right, as far as people want to come here. How has your strategy changed as an organization in regard to events since the pandemic?
I don't think it's really changed. I do believe that over the last few years, we adapted to a bit of a hybrid format. But we do think still that there is a great interest in face-to-face, getting back together again.
Yeah.
The pandemic really just accentuated what we were already doing in terms of extending our reach, through our Mobile World Live platform.
Yeah.
So we continued that. Obviously, during the heights of the pandemic, we went fully virtual, almost fully virtual. But we think that pendulum has shifted. We kept the fire burning, over the last couple of years, and now the flame is starting to come back again. And people they have a smile on their face, a spring in their step.
Yeah.
They want to be back out. Now, will we be back to pre-pandemic levels in 23? I'm not sure yet, but because parts of the world are still
still
very
constrained,
much
yeah.
constrained. But we're seeing a lot of interest, and we're just thrilled. So our strategy really hasn't shifted. I do think that there are some products and services that are better served by a virtual format or a remote format, and that's great. But there's others that you really need to sit across the table, like we are right here. We could have done it virtually, but it's so much better seeing each other and talking into these microphones.
Yeah. And boss, our organization and my boss were thrilled with Barcelona this year. Thrilled. And the Amdocs booth was incredible, and the energy that it gave all our teams was really phenomenal. So what's your thoughts then, Lara, on moving forward now with events and marketing in your capacity?
I think you're both right. I think you can't build relationships as well as you can unless you're in person. This show and this whole series is really all about getting business done, and establishing trust and relationship happens in person. And then on top of it, there are those serendipitous moments that happen because you're walking through a conference center and you wouldn't have thought of that technology or that person. And so I think, just very much around the central notion of bringing people together, convening that, and then the policy tracks in a couple of our shows. Again, bringing policymakers together in order to talk about kind of where we need to be, from whether it's investment or regulation, etc. You have to be in the same room.
No, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Now, I have to compliment you on this, honestly, because what we do as a marketing organization within our company is we want our sales guys here, we want our people here, we want them speaking. And it wasn't that difficult to get them here this year. Now, we talked about how great Las Vegas is as a city, but what a lineup you had of speakers this year, really, because every week it seemed to get bigger and better and bigger and better. And we were briefing our sales guys, and then we did another final brief, and it like quadrupled, and they were all our key people from our customers at T-Mobile and Verizon, and we had Jeff Luong from AT&T with us. How did you do it this year? A fantastic lineup, really the best.
It's all Lara.
Yeah.
Lara?
I think that over the years, what John and his team have done is build this amazing platform that becomes hugely desirable, that the best of the best want to be here. The leaders, the innovators, the creators, the ideators, they know this is the place to be. And so we have this wonderful platform and brand that's been built over time. But also, by the way, thank you for that for that compliment, because we hope to continue that for many more years to come.
No, it really is great. And I always thought, living in North America now, and where we as an organization do business and our customers, that this was just a natural place for business to happen in North America in our industry, because there was always a lot of reluctance to take long haul travel. Some companies have a stricter travel policy for their staff. I looked at it this year, and then we saw the amount of T-Mobile people that were here, and it's clearly rubbed off on you, Lara, with the magenta. But fantastic, really great, and I hope that continues, because for our organization and our sales guys, they were like, hold on a minute, and we got them here, so that was great.
It is this virtual cycle. I mean, once we can get it started again, it's basically a rebuild after pandemic. I mean, the world shut down. We have to recognize that.
Yeah.
You can't snap your fingers and it just happens again. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But this is a great first step, and we're super, super excited. Great facility, great lineup.
Yeah.
The place to come to do business, and
Yeah.
the anecdotal evidence so far, one day, is very, very successful.
Yeah, totally. But what are you seeing in the rest of the world now? So we've spoken about North America here, we touched on Barcelona. What about the rest of the world? Because there is more, as we said before, constraints on particularly in Asia.
Yeah, so we have these amazing 360 events. I don't know if you've ever been to any of them, but we hold them regionally. We did one in Riyadh this year. We've just done one in APAC, which was amazingly well attended.
Yeah.
So we're recognizing that with the MWC series, again, this great opportunity to bring people together and convene in a whole industry, but then leveraging these regional moments to maybe talk a little bit more in depth about very regionally focused issues, policies, etc. And so we're creating these moments through the year in kind of the lead up to Barcelona.
Correct.
I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
We set the agenda in Barcelona, and then it carries through. Obviously, this year we weren't able to go to Shanghai in June like we normally would.
Yeah.
But we went to Singapore. As Lara mentioned, we went to Riyadh. We'll go back to LATAM in November.
Yeah.
In October, we'll go to Africa. So we have this great lead up, and then the tail continues around
Yeah.
Barcelona. We'll set the agenda again, and then take
Yeah.
it to parts around the world.
I think it's great. I think you've got me thinking now of something, and I've discussed it several times today, particularly with Canadians. We've had 2 Canadians come in. In North America, they tend to lump Canada and the United States together, but there's a very distinct, more than ever now, mindset and sort of technical realization in Canada. And I think it was recently I was with our Canadian teams. Maybe there's something in Toronto on the 360. You'd get a chance to go back home.
I promised I didn't ask him to say that. Am I the 3rd Canadian in the booth today then?
You are the 3rd Canadian.
I am
today.
just so
Yeah.
happy to hear that Canadians are coming out and that they're here and supporting the show. And you're right, we shouldn't all be lumped together, but North America is an important market, isn't it? So however we decide to work that out, the Canadians are welcome no matter where we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Americans.
And the
Yes, yeah. What's going to happen next year? We're staying in Las Vegas?
Yes.
Yeah?
I showed Mayor Goodman that on the back of our badge, we have the date, and she goes, "Well, my job is done. I don't even have to come and speak." And I said, "No, we're thrilled, and we think that this is a great location for us now." The new facility was the big driver because
Right.
we couldn't, Barcelona's our anchor. We have to spread them out, and frankly, the fall was just full.
Yeah.
So this new facility allows us to come into a state-of-the-art facility. We had a great date, so we'll be back next year and for years to come.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. Well, and long may it continue. And once again, thank you for helping us or supporting us with the great indoors. It's like a labor of love that we keep
Prime
pushing.
location. I don't know. How'd you get this prime location here?
It was great. I don't know. We got here and we were like, and the jumbotron you have
Yeah.
is enormous and incredible. And then when we saw our great indoors up on there, I was sending it back to my children and things like that.
And now they think you're cool, right?
Now I think so. I hope so. They won't tell me that. They won't tell me that. We've had a great first day. We've got 2 other great days ahead of us. We've already done almost as many interviews as we did in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
So it's been fantastic. Now, we finish the interview with our fun TGI to go round, where I'm going to ask both of you the same question and you give me your preference. And it's just a bit of fun and we add it in to the end. So are you ready for TGI to go?
Ready,
Absolutely.
ready.
Okay, this is our big hit of 2022. TGI to go. First question to you, Lara. Frank Sinatra or Dean Martin? I think you knew that one was coming.
Dean Martin.
Dean Martin. You're the first one who said Dean Martin today.
Is that right?
Yeah,
I found him very charming.
yeah, excellent. John, same
I'm
question.
I'm a Frank guy. Yeah.
Okay, there you
Frank
go.
guy.
He'll be back here again tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
For you, John, poker or blackjack?
Blackjack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you had any chances to indulge? in
No.
it?
I was waiting for a colleague to go to dinner last night, so I threw a 20 in the progressive slot, and
Right.
I made my donation.
Oh right. Okay. Did you win?
I made my donation.
Laura?
Blackjack.
Yeah.
I don't know how to play poker. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's it for me.
I don't know how to do either. I need to learn, particularly if I'm, I like Vegas so much. Okay, Laura, this one's for you. And this was really funny actually, but yoga or swimming?
Swimming.
Okay. And are you staying at the Resort World? It's what a fantastic pool.
I haven't
there.
been up yet.
Neither have I. If my wife's listening, I've been nowhere near any pool of any sort so far.
In sunny Vegas.
But it's really nice from what I've heard. John, yoga or swimming?
Hiking.
Or hiking?
Yes.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
But I tell you what's interesting. This is another interesting thing. And again, it's something that I think is a credit to Las Vegas. My team is spread out all over North America. So we're going to stay an extra day, and we're going to do a team building event.
Nice.
Right. So what that throws open so many different opportunities in Las Vegas. But the one thing we found, and we haven't booked it yet, although I think they want to do it, is something called goat yoga.
Yes, I've heard about it.
Have you heard it? You
Yes.
do yoga in the desert with goats, and they climb on your
They
back.
climb on
with
your
these-
back, yes.
Yeah.
I would suggest goat yoga followed by indoor skydiving.
Oh yeah, that's
It's
just
right
right
down
up
the
the
street, and
yeah.
it's phenomenal.
Oh really?
Absolutely.
Okay. What about goat indoor skydiving?
That
There
could
could
be-
be something.
That could
in
be a
one.
first.
Yeah.
It would be a first. It's really cool that you're taking your team on a team building exercise. I'm keeping my team for an extra day, and we're doing business planning.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, it's the same. It's almost the same.
Yeah. I mean, I positioned it as team building. There's an element of business planning in
Yeah.
there, but
I'm doing like real business planning,
Oh, well,
with
yeah.
numbers and stuff. Strategies and numbers.
Pulling potential out of
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Then they can go goat yogaing after.
Yeah, they'll need it.
Yeah.
Exactly. This one's for you, Lara. Vancouver or Toronto?
Oh.
I'm a Canadian, and I love both of those cities, but I grew up and have lived in Toronto, so I suppose I'd have to say Toronto.
Okay. No, that's a good one. And the final one, John, this one's for you. Hawaii or Ibiza?
Wow. Ibiza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Only because it's part of the country that I spend a lot more time. I don't really get to Hawaii. I've been a few times, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Well, listen, thank you for taking part in our TGI to go. It's a little bit different, right? We've come to the end now, but any last thoughts that you want to impart on the listeners and the people at the show before we conclude?
Just that it's a real honor to be here. I have only been a couple of years in this industry, and I have learned so much in the one day that I've been here. And I really do think it's a really electric time to be a part of this industry, and that we're looking at the future as we sit here, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, it's fantastic, yeah.
Matthew, it's we kind of say MWC the place to do business, which is very true. And I've been around for a long time. I mean, I've done the 1G, the 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. I said I'm not going to do 6. There are several step changes. 1 to 2 is a huge step change when we moved to digital. 2 to 3/4, we moved into the data era. And 5G now is an immense opportunity for all of us.
Yeah.
So you combine those opportunities with the place to do business coming together like this, and I couldn't be more excited. And we love the facility, we love Las Vegas, so we'll see where the future holds.
And I tell you the one thing I picked up today, like you said, in that step change between 4 and 5, and I think because of the pandemic, the one thing I notice now is there's an almost altruistic, almost an inherent obligation from everybody here to help serve the communities that they serve, or to help support them, and help even go after the world's greatest challenges like climate change.
That's right.
It's no longer just tech for dollars and cents. Okay, the dollars and cents helps, but there's a tech for good notion that permeates everybody I've spoken to. I mean, Jeff from AT&T and the Digital Divide, Dr. Kaisha King from T-Mobile, again talking about education and immersive experiences from T-Mobile. I had the chats from Williams that are doing the ambient IoT tags that can help fix climate change and all of these things. So that new drive of tech for good, everyone feels great about it.
Right.
I think for years technology was the bad guy. Our kids were spending too much time gaming or on social media. Now there's this sweep, like you said, as part of that step change where how do we make the world a better place? And I truly believe it. It's
Pay
really
forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Pay forward. That's what we're here.
Yeah. Well, look, I look forward to seeing you again very soon. I want to say thank you for supporting Amdocs in the Great Indoors. It's been a fabulous show so far. We're only into day 1. So thank you very much, Lara. Thank you very much, John.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so our next guest here at MWC 2022 from BT is Mr. Adam Schink. Adam, welcome to the Great Indoors.
Adam Schink.
Oh, Schink. Sorry, my
Close,
apology.
close. That's
Yeah.
okay. I get called lots of different names.
Well, great. That's great. So, Adam, welcome. Great to have you here.
Thank you very much. Glad
Now,
to be here.
give us a bit of a background on your role for BT, because I understand you're a Canadian who is in Great Britain and is now in New York.
Yeah, just like to confuse everybody.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
Canadian mixed with British accent. Bit of American now.
Yeah. And tell us what you do for BT.
Sure. So I head up our startup scouting for BT, positioned, as you said, in New York City. So a big part of my role is building out our ecosystem over here in the US. So I liaise quite frequently with a lot of the venture capital firms, also with telcos as well. So I've got close relationships with the US telcos over here, which is great. Mixture between looking at strategy, both investment and partnership. We look at kind of new markets that BT potentially could move into, and having someone on the ground over here. Really big overarching key part of the role is reading the tea leaves. Where is tech going? Where are those advancements happening? Where else could potential telcos move into new markets? Overall, I love my job. It's quite a lot of fun.
Well, it sounds really amazing, and
Best job.
we're heavily invested in the startup world, of course, in Israel.
Fantastic.
And we'll get into it in a second, because I'm really keen to hear some real great examples of people you've scouted recently. But yourself personally, what's the biggest innovation that's touched you over the last 12 months?
So I would say there's probably a couple. A close family member of mine has cerebral palsy, and my aunt also had cerebral palsy. And so seeing the advancements that are happening in the medical space, outside of the kind of telco world, both in surgical but also the education, is, I think, something that's quite close to my heart. I would say, personally, outside of that example, I would say, the advancements of what's been happening with COVID, working wherever, whenever. So both, the collaboration platforms that are out now, but also that societal shift. Our company very much is a hybrid environment now. I've obviously traveled quite frequently with work, so being able to kind of tie into the team, feel still very connected. A lot of our startup scouting is actually based over in the UK, so a huge part of our team is over there. So being able to kind of work with them and collaborate and feel connected, even though we're nowhere close to each other anymore. So I would say that is another one for me.
Excellent. Now, this is a question we didn't script, but I was in Seattle a couple of weeks ago. We were at Chetan Sharma's Mobile Future Forward event, and I was sat with a venture capitalist at dinner who is an American, but he was really heavily invested in New Zealand. He saw New Zealand as being a heavy startup culture.
Cool.
Obviously, I talked about Israel right at the beginning there. Where's hot right now from that perspective, geographically?
That's interesting. And it's not one location. I think what's really neat is what's happened. A lot of it was concentrated in the Valley, and we had a pretty big startup scouting team over there, which now has been pulled back into the UK. So I see actually London as a really cool startup scene. So it's got the pillars of the financial sector there, but what's really happened is all kinds of different tech has come out. So a lot of the VCs were investing very heavily in fintech, obviously based on London being London. But now we're actually seeing a lot more really cool robotic companies being based out there, educational companies being based out there. So that was a huge move for us, actually moving our tech scouting team back into Europe. So I'm, pretty bullish on London.
Right.
But if we talk about the US, what's also really cool is you're starting to see these pockets like Nashville. Obviously, everyone talks about Austin as well. You're seeing that migration of people and that tech move from California back out, around all kinds of places in the US. So we see really cool companies all throughout the Americas, not just in the Valley, although there's obviously a very great concentration in tech, and I'm out there all the time too. So I love the Valley. It's nothing against it. It's just, there's been a total shift that's been happening.
No, it's really interesting. It's really interesting to see, like you said, where those shifts and trends are happening. Now, you talked about healthcare and medicine before, and it was something we talked about right on our first episode today, was about education. But when we talk about the tea leaves, like you said that, what are you looking for right now? What to you is something you're actively scouting for?
Yeah, absolutely. So we get involved with the business. A lot of our role is actually internal business development as well. So I have a fantastic director that's part of that senior leadership team. And really what both of us have been working in the startup scene for a long time. And with that comes experience, and with that comes, you don't want to really mess around with startups. You want to make sure that they don't have unlimited time. So we want to make sure that we're utilizing that time efficiently. So we work with the business to identify what are those key strategic areas that the company wants to move forward in. And we don't really move forward in seriousness until we have that agreement and those spaces that the company is looking to fulfill.
Right.
So if we focus in what those verticals are, could be things like fintech, health, cybersecurity is one for us that's very active as well. We have a drones team, so that is another area that we actively scout for, but we're seeing, industry 4.0, IoT world. So we work with that business unit to really identify what they're looking for. We write a brief, we get out to the market, and then we get engaged with that startup ecosystem. Doesn't mean that we don't do the push into the business. So if we see something that's really fantastic, we do bring that forward as well. But we make sure that we're very much being truthful with that startup, saying, hey, we recognize this is something that does fit. It may not be, a deal we're going to sign tomorrow, but let's create some excitement internally. And, often we'll see that startup sign a deal maybe like 6 months later with an organization. We weren't even involved in it, but we did that introduction, which is really cool to see that happen as well.
And are you bringing some of those startups into BT itself? Is
Yes.
BT harnessing those for any propositions it's putting out to market?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. A huge push. I mean, our gravitational pull. We're in 180 countries, so we are all over the globe. Huge gravitational push, though, is obviously the UK, being British Telecom. So a lot of the startups that we do scout for are actively coming out of the US or wherever we locate them, and then we help scale them through the UK.
Okay. And we're meeting a lot of startups this week and interviewing many of those people involved in them. We're also part of the 5G Open Innovation Lab, which is up in Seattle, and a lot of startups there. But when you recommend startups, when you spot them, and you say this is something, what happens then? What's the process from a BT perspective and from your own person? Because, like you said, it's great to get excited about it. It's great to. But what happens next?
Yeah, and you're really hitting on something that is like close to my heart. Again, we don't want to mess around with that startup. We want to make sure that it's like, we're not wasting their time. So we very much, once we identify that space that we're looking after, cyber, health, whatever it may be, get out, scout, pull a list of startups together for the business. We appraise them together with that business. And it's really starting to like take that funnel from quite wide and bring it down to just a few. Once we kind of have shortlisted, we do a pitch session with the right people. So again, it's not wasting time. It's making sure that everyone that needs to make a decision is at that table. We're all in it together as an organization. We appraise them, quite rapidly, so it speeds up that RFP process. And then whittle it down, and then we start getting into negotiations as well. And we do look at investment if it is an avenue that's of interest to the startup, also for ourselves as well.
And you talked right at the beginning in your introduction there, Adam, about working with other service providers around the world.
Yep.
We're in the United States. How actively involved are you with the big three, or even beyond that?
Yeah. So I actually represent BT on the Telco Council. So it's a group of telecommunication providers. We meet usually every couple months or so. And the whole idea is collaboration, right? So we don't compete with each other. Verizon's a little bit over in the UK, for instance. We're a little bit over in the US as well. But primarily we're not competing direct. So it is a nice place to be, because if we're seeing great tech, we can let them know, and vice versa. So we have that collaboration with many of the telcos over here in the US, but also the Telco Council is not just US focused. So we have organizations from all over the globe that may have people similar to me based out here, whether it's in the Valley or elsewhere as well. So it's a really neat organization to be a part of.
Now, we talked about the startup culture in a number of different countries, and obviously you've got experience all over the world. One of the other things that we've been focusing on, particularly US based, is the race to 5G and the huge investment in the 5G networks and the rollout. From your time in England, what do you see as the biggest differences between where the US is right now and where the UK is or could potentially be? And the reason I ask this question is because when I lived in the United Kingdom, when it was the 3G and 4G networks, they were very advanced and there was a lot of innovation coming through. And then there was a huge push in the United States to get these networks rolled out. What are the biggest either cultural or technical differences you see between the two markets? And indeed, by the way, even in Canada, as a native Canadian.
Yeah, I guess maybe technical differences may not be something that I can really think of right now, but I would say that the countries are quite different, right? So size of country is very different, UK to US, and so you're starting to see innovations kind of popping up that very much are based around that. I mean, our rollout is going very well over in the UK, so we are very much looking at how similar to in the US market, how you move further into the stack. So it could be robotic systems, it could be drones, it could be all kinds of really interesting ways that you can leverage that 5G and edge compute investment and then go further down into these new sectors as well. And we're starting to see that a lot. There's a lot of similarities with the telcos over here as well. They may be looking at different markets, so for us, if we look at autonomous vehicles, for instance, our network is very heavily based in the UK. So for us, moving into autonomous, like people carrying vehicles, et cetera, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. We have stuff going on in drones, which is a bit of a different use case. But over here, they're working very much and moving further into that autonomous vehicle space as well. So again, it's kind of, they're leveraging the same kind of technologies that we're talking about, but it could be actually the new markets that they're looking at is a bit different.
What's really interesting, if we turn the clock back 12 months and we met with, he's now the CEO of Verizon Business, and we talked about 5G, we focused predominantly on fixed wireless access, rural connectivity, B2B, private enterprise network.
Yep.
You're the third person I've spoken to today, Adam, and we're already moved on into autonomous cars, the new world of telemedicine, immersive educational experiences. The metaverse is everywhere, right? In fact, even this week, we are going to meet Halo, who have a license for autonomous cabs here in Las Vegas. Cool. For you personally, what's the biggest exciting innovation that this 5G 4.0 new world brings from a personal perspective?
From a personal perspective. So I used to actually lead our drone division back in the UK.
Okay.
So we're equipping these highways essentially in the sky with the right sensing technologies, layer communications, looking at the edge compute layer within there as well, along with how you're going to tie in drones with manned aviation. So there's a software layer called UTM, Unmanned Traffic Management, that kind of layers in and actually brings in that full picture together. So bring in all these different technologies that enable drones to go beyond visual line of sight. So that's a huge barrier that's existing within that industry. If you want to do Amazon delivery, if you want to do medical delivery, if you want to do all of that, you need to kind of underpin the technologies that bring all of that together. So it's a really neat use case on the kind of 5G and also layered in with other communications as well, because you need some backhaul into that suite of technologies too. So it's a really cool one. I mean, I was very close to it, so it's very easy for me to kind of pull in that direction. But all the kind of different areas that we scout for all have these kind of nuggets. Really, that's really cool. I never would have even thought about it. Never would have saw the technology moving that way. A lot of the work I do now is in cybersecurity, and hackers have all kinds of different technologies now.
And more points of entry. Right?
Absolutely. So like the advances that are happening in artificial intelligence, machine learning, keeping up with that. So even before a breach happens, we're very active in that space too. So just really depends on the tech. I always find really kind of interesting, cool areas that I wouldn't have known about that I find personally really interesting.
Cool. And are you looking for startups today?
We are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any of these events that we're at, we're looking for startups. Again, in those areas, they're very much new spaces for us. other than cybersecurity, has been around for quite a long time. Health is a very new space for us. Drones, has been incubated over the last couple of years. Fintech is very active for us. We're never going to be a bank, but we're very much looking at how we can service some of our customers.
Yeah.
So anything that's kind of disrupting the banking sector, of interest as well. So yep, definitely out here looking for companies.
Well, Adam, I think you've got a wonderful job. It sounds amazing, and as a technologist, to, like you said, be turning over these rocks to find those gems, it must be tremendously exciting.
Yeah, it's great. Love it.
Okay, so what we do now is our quick fire TGI to go round.
Yeah.
The great indoors to go.
I'm excited / worried about this.
Okay. Normally we'd ask 10 questions, but because we're doing like the number of interviews, we're only going to do 5. Okay. So it's a multiple choice. You just tell us your preference of the two things. TGI to go. Question 1. Frank Sinatra or Dean Martin?
Ooh, Frank Sinatra.
That's good. That's good. But a lot of people already said to me, "Who's Dean Martin?" I'm like, "What? Really?" Anyway, there we go. But we'll have Frank Sinatra later here at 3 p.m. By the way.
Oh, great!
It's amazing what technology can dig up.
Perfect.
Next question. Question 2: the Wynn or the Bellagio?
Ooh. I would say Wynn.
Yeah.
Yep.
Next question, a bit more of food related. If you're enjoying the culinary delights here of Las Vegas, sushi or Italian?
Ooh, sushi. Definitely sushi. So many different restaurants.
Oh, I should have asked you this one instead, actually.
Go.
Fish and chips or curry?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
You lived in London.
Is it a good fish and chips or is it a mediocre? This is on a scale. And same thing with the curry.
Same with curry. Yeah.
I mean, that's a trick question.
Yeah.
I would lean towards.
If you were back in London, if you were in
curry.
Wandsworth,
I think I would go for a curry.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good choice. Good choice. Another Vegas-related one: slots or roulette?
Neither.
I'm with you on that one.
I can't. Yeah, it's just not my thing.
No.
You'll find me with a glass of wine in a bar. My relatives love to gamble.
Yeah.
And I last about 10 minutes. And then me and my partner have to find the nearest bar for a drink and pull us out of it.
I'm with you on that one.
I'm going to get hated for that.
And the final one, running or kayaking?
Oh, both.
Yeah?
Both. Yeah. I'm not built like a runner.
Right.
I've been learning to try and bring that into my life again. Love kayaking. When I was younger, I used to run a kayaking tour company. So, yeah, I'd probably lean towards kayaking given my build, but yeah.
Brilliant.
Can run as well.
Okay, well, look, Adam, it's been great to meet you. It's been great to have this conversation. Do you have any last thoughts for our listeners before we close today?
Very excited to meet anyone here, startup or non-startup, any of the telcos, VCs, etc. Would love to catch up with them for a coffee, lunch, dinner, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we'll put in the show notes. We'll put all your contact details as well.
Yeah, sounds great. Perfect.
Right.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Adam.
So
Brilliant.
Much. Pleasure.
So what another great couple of conversations from MWC Las Vegas 2022. Stay tuned for more and also check out www.amdocs.com/The Great Indoors for more information, back episodes and videos associated with TGI. There's a new video out there, by the way. It's pretty cool. I'm Matthew Roberts in Las Vegas for Amdocs. See you next time, wherever you are.